with that, we're going to get to our guest, Randip Janda. All of our guests brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That'll get you $5 off your order.
Pokemon cards, sports cards, everything.
Okay, Randip's waiting. We can't go through your Pokemon collection.
No, go through the whole. You got a Charizard? What's going on here, man?
This Pokeball right here.
Oh, geez.
Hell of a steal.
Randip, how you doing? I'm doing well, man. We know a lot about each other, but I didn't realize the Pokemon thing was. I work with you. I see you at practice, everything. I didn't realize Pokemon was the thing, man.
Oh man, you haven't seen enough of the live shows because I've been. I pull this out every once in a while. This is the original binder right here, the original 151 in here.
Wow. All right. Okay.
He's been instructed by his employer to not bring his Pokemon cards to the rink, so that's why you haven't noticed.
Yeah. Quads, you gotta. That's awesome. Awesome, boys.
Randip, big game tonight. Avalanche in town. It's going to be an interesting one. They're coming in on a 4-game losing streak. We saw that meeting at center ice, and somebody were joking in the chat saying it was just, McKinnon, now that he's back in the lineup, he's talking about the diets of the guys. But tonight it feels like two teams that are going to be hungry going into this game. When you look at what the Avalanche are going to be able to come in here, they want to still be able to, call themselves a playoff team, which is wild to say up to this point in the season. But what are you expecting from Vancouver after the way that we've heard Bruce Boudreau talk over the past few days here? I don't know, man. I feel like there should be a lot of pressure on the players tonight.
Oh, totally. And you guys were talking about Boudreau's comments after the last game where, he effectively ripped into them saying the adversity, when it comes up, these guys have no pushback. I can't be out there doing these things. We have to tell them what to do, and they got to execute. But you saw and you heard a different tone yesterday. It was kind of like, going back to your days as like kids, right? Your parents would maybe get mad at you one day, and the next day they take that softer tone. That's what Boudreau was doing tonight. This really comes down to, do your best players show up? Because if you contrast this against Colorado, they got Nate McKinnon back. Mikko Rantanen's having a great year. Even though there's a bunch of guys in that bottom 6 that have 0 points this season who've played 9 games, 10 games, the top dogs in Colorado are most likely going to show up. And if Colorado wins this game, it's probably going to be because their best players are showing up. Outside of Bo Horvat last game, there's not really much going on. A lot of games this year, it's been Elias Pettersson and nobody else. So to me, what it comes down to is, you're going to need an effort through line 1 to 4, but really, what does that Elias Pettersson, JT Miller combination look like, right? That's the line that we're expecting to see based on what we saw in practice. So can you get JT Miller going? Can you get that top end of the lineup to really produce? Because yes, defense is important for JT, and he wants to be a defensive player, guys, but look at the point totals right now. They're starting to dry up for this guy. The confidence is not there. So if the Canucks want to win this tonight, I think EP40 and number 9 in the Canucks jersey is going to have to be huge today, because you're going against Nathan McKinnon, who had a goal and an assist last game himself. He's fired up. They're pissed off on the other side. They're ready to go. The Canucks are going to have to match that.
The heat's been turned up in this market, especially after that Tuesday night loss, Randip. We're talking about, it's going to be such an intense game tonight. The Canucks stars need to match up. How much of an indictment is it on this team if they come out and turn in a stinker tonight?
I think it's a huge indictment, but what's been the classic story with this team? 60 minutes, right? So even if you start the game well, like the fact that you have a good start, it's not enough for this team anymore, especially considering their record is the exact same as it was after 37 games last year. For everything that's happened in a year, regime change, everything, you're still there. So to me, the start is important. You want to set the tone, but what have we seen in the last couple of games? Early leads, they don't mean anything really for this team. You have to keep it going. So I think we're well past the how do they look at the beginning of the game. It's going to be, all right, if you have a good start, like you did against the Islanders, you get that 1-0 lead. And when Nathan McKinnon, when, Rantanen, when these guys start to push back and they come with their haymakers, can you stand in there and can you take one on the chin? If you crumble again, that's what you don't want to see. So to me, it's not about the start. It's about, hey, if you have a good 10 minutes, maybe in the second period, halfway through, they have a penalty call that goes their way and you allow a goal. How do you respond? Because this team hasn't been able to do that, not only in the last 3 games, but let's go back at the beginning of the year. Remember those multi-goal leads and the historic pace? That was an issue at that point too. So to me, it's about the volatility within the group. And that really comes down to every single player trusting each other. And going back to the last game against New York Islanders, guys, when you saw players like Luke Schenn just go all the way to the left-hand side when Matt Barzal was going at him, and occupying space that was already occupied by another Canucks player. That tells you about trust. And until they can actually trust each other on the ice, it's going to be difficult to take those mistakes away. So to me, it's the volatility in this team and the trust factor.
The volatility is very clearly seen, I think, a lot in JT Miller's defensive play as well. And that's what I'm going to find so interesting about tonight is, listen, Randy, you know, you do the call for all of their games. You see this. Normally after the game, you're talking, at least Pettersson played good, right? At least Pettersson was giving it his all defensively. Tonight's going to be interesting because they're going to be on the same line together. And though I don't think Pettersson is the most vocal leader of this group, I think on the ice, he's the number one leader on this team. And it's going to be an interesting clash to me of leadership of, listen, we go into the locker room, we hear JT Miller all the time. He's one of the loudest guys in that locker room.
Sure.
Tonight, you're going to see them have to play together, and Miller's going to have to be, you know, held accountable, not from a voice or from, you know, a coach or anything. He's going to be held accountable because of the play of Elias Pettersson. So that's how I can see it either really clicking or this could go really south. Like if this doesn't work out tonight and there's something that JT Miller does that like ruins the Elias Pettersson line, we're talking about another big negative story for this team. So this could really go either way tonight.
Yeah, it's an interesting move here by Bruce Boudreau because if we talk about, you know, going back, I think it was November 2nd, I want to say 2019, maybe 2020. I forget which year it was. COVID really, we don't remember anything anyways. But remember, it was a Colorado game and it was a high scoring game. It was the Lotto line putting up points against this team and Vancouver ended up winning. And what was the classic? You know, that was showing what these guys can do together at the best of times, right? And now fast forward a couple years, these guys haven't played together so much. The Lotto line is not happening, but we're in such a different situation where Elias Pettersson established himself as the best two-way forward on this team, and it ain't particularly close. So it's an interesting move in the sense that, yes, you're getting, you know, JT Miller to play alongside him. And Faber, you're right. You know, this could be either work out really well and it motivates Miller to be that much better and he really elevates his game, or it's going the other way where you start to see maybe some flaws. Now, the wing here, and I think playing on the wing is important for JT Miller because when do you do that? When a player is not confident. And with JT Miller's game, maybe not the person, but the player hasn't been all that confident in the last few games. And we've seen that. And you also want him to, you know, kind of use his size and his speed, which coming off the wing, if you're going to be aggressive, you're allowed to do that. You can't, you know, maybe take a little bit more of a chance playing on the wing. So I'm with you. I think playing with Elias Pettersson, it could go really well or it could go the other way, especially if the defensive commitment's not there. But sometimes you see coaches do this a lot. You saw Pettersson when he was struggling. They put him on the wing just to try to get that mojo going. And I've generally liked JT Miller on the wing better, but I do wonder about that chemistry. You don't see Miller and Pettersson playing next to each other very often. So it's anybody's guess on how they play tonight.
Could be really good, could be really bad. It's almost like, to me, it feels like when you put JT Miller out in overtime. It's like, you're either going to win or you're going to lose, right? It's like that situation. But I heard you talking about this the other day in a post game about Will Lockwood and liking his game. What have you liked so far in these last little stretch here? Because listen, he's come up, he's had some NHL games. This past kind of 2-month stretch here in the AHL, confidence just glowing and you know, dripping off this kid the way he's been playing in the AHL. Comes up here and he's doing a lot of the similar things, but to me, it feels like it's with just like an extra more professional level. Like we've seen him be a guy who goes in on the forecheck really hard, but I've really liked him in his kind of return to the NHL lineup here. What have you seen so far with Lockwood?
Yeah, I think with him, you know, we've always liked the package, right? In the sense that he's got the speed, he's got the fearlessness, he's going to engage. And it was a question of, all right, can he put all these things together and can he utilize it on the ice and not make those mistakes? Now, I've just seen a better player in terms of more of sound all-around game. And when you get elevated, and I understand how Bruce Boudreau works, he's looking for, you know, a lot of coaches will do this. Who's going right now? All right, elevate him up to the first line. And, you know, the ability to move up there and play that's a trust thing. You don't just get elevated because, hey, we need something different on that line. So to me, what I've liked about his game, small sample size thus far, he's got to keep it going. That's what being a pro is, especially at the NHL level. But I think just the ability to build that confidence in the AHL, and you guys have watched him, of course, you know, picking up more points, but just having the trust in his all-around game where previously we'd say, you know, Will Lockwood's got the puck on his stick, and it looks like he's going to get blown up a couple of times in a game. And that was my fear with him early on in his career was, all right, this guy, you know, he's good, but I worry about his health because maybe the head's down, maybe he's not aware of what's going on around him or who's on the ice. He just looks stronger that way. And of course, the forecheck, the fearlessness is still there, but I just think he's more aware, and he fits, that hockey sense, that if you want to talk about it from that perspective, it just looks stronger this time up.
Randy, what have you made of Brock Besser's game this year? Like, we talked about the lotto line, and there hasn't even really been much talk in the market of, hey, maybe put these three back together, because it just doesn't look like Brock Besser's going to be able to bring what he used to bring to that line. What have you thought of Brock Besser this year?
Yeah, I think, every 10 to 15 games, it feels like we're doing a Brock Besser check-in in this market. And that goes back a couple of years now, right? Based on his shot, based on his health. Obviously, he's had a rough couple of years on a personal side too, which we can all understand. But when it comes to this year, two things, right? We've seen Brock in certain aspects in certain previous years look, it's been too inconsistent, but there's been elements of, okay, certain games he's got jump, and you're like, all right, that's the Brock Besser we need to see. I haven't seen that Brock Besser in some time. I don't see that in his skating. The other thing is, and just getting ready for the last few games, you always keep in mind of, what does Bruce Boudreau say about Brock Besser every single time he's asked about him? Brock needs to shoot more. He needs to go back to being the guy that was playing when I got to Vancouver, is what Boudreau says. If you look at those shot totals, boys, they're low. This to me right now is yet again, unfortunately, a player that doesn't look that confident. So the fact that we're not even clamoring for the lotto line in this market tells you that I don't think Brock Besser's his confidence there, his game is not there. And certain aspects of this, you start looking at, and when we talk about puck management, it's not only a defensive issue. We're seeing wingers, cough up the puck as well. I've noticed Brock's done that a few times in pretty questionable areas, whether it's in the defensive zone or in the neutral zone. So I just don't see a confident player right now, and that's unfortunate, because he was confident coming into the season, saying he was going to score 30, but that's looking like a huge stretch right now, unless he goes on a heater of all heaters.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, we used to always do this with the old show, especially during the pandemic when there was no hockey to talk about. But I want to talk to you about the new job you got with 650. You're doing great on color.
Yeah.
How have you liked it so far?
Yeah, no, this is thanks for the kind words, and it's something that I love doing. Batch is one of the best in the business, so the ability to do that and cover the team that in my home city, it's awesome. And it's cool because Batch and I've done games with them in the past as well, so this is not totally new. But man, it's funny because we joke about this off air, but good guy, we have a great relationship, but he's a Red Sox fan, I'm a Yankees fan. He's a Manchester United fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. Like almost opposite in every single way, but everything. It's been great, and just being in the building every single night, and being able to call the game and follow in the footsteps of the Tom Larshides in the world and the Hershey's of the world, and of course just the ability to do that's special to me. So I love it. And half of the season, it feels like it's just gone by super quickly, but really enjoying it, man. And it's growing up in the city, it's one of those things. You watch those guys do their thing on radio and TV. Cheech, of course, who's the legend and is always giving me tips. And when I'm asking for him, it's awesome to be in that role now and really be able to cover the team I grew up watching and cheering.
Well, luckily for all of us, the Red Sox haven't had a great offseason, so Batch hopefully won't be able to talk about much next year at the rink.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, and they gave all the money to Rafael Devers too. So,
oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Yeah, Xander Bogaerts to the Padres. Just we'll talk about it at the rink. Randip, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
There he is, Randip Janda, joining us there. Hear him on the broadcast tonight for Sportsnet 650.